All right. Hello, Sarah. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you taking the time to come chat with me.
Of course. I love talking to you, Chelsea, anytime.
Yay! So I basically want to just have a conversation and really just highlight and celebrate your growth. Witnessing your process in the Luscious Love Immersion was just incredibly inspiring and just lit me up. So I want others to know what's possible for them as they hear and witness your story as well. So I'm just going to ask you some questions about your experience and be as honest as possible.
Okay.
So the first thing that I want to ask is, what were you feeling about your relationship before doing the Luscious Love Immersion?
So I think luckily I was coming from a pretty strong relationship, and I think my ROCD popped up really as a way of flagging all of the things I needed to work on within myself. So I mean, honestly, lucky enough that it was very strong. I think, however, it's no fun for your partner when you're going through so much stuff almost on the daily, emotional highs and lows, voicing your doubts and your fears. So pre-Luscious Love, I think we were sort of in that place where there was a little bit of like, how long is this going to last? Like, okay, what are we looking at here? Is this going to keep affecting us on the daily?
So what were some of the things that you were experiencing in your day-to-day life, in your relationship, when you were going through this?
Yeah, I think just that voice of fear and doubt would totally try and ruin all of the good stuff going on. And it seemed like it was more important and more urgent than all of the lovely in the moment stuff. So for me, it was really grappling with really what felt like this mental disorder that popped up for me totally out of the blue. And I had a point definitely when it started, and in the peak of it, it was like every day my body would go into a fight or flight response. And it was like every day, just unimaginable psychological and like physical turmoil.
So what did you experience during the process of working together? What shifts and realizations did you notice throughout the process?
I think honestly, before I discovered your program, I was not the person that like knew everything about ROCD and had obsessively done the research. I kind of like didn't even know it was a thing. And now I think, having worked with you and with everybody in the program, the most comforting thing was that I wasn't alone. And I genuinely did not realize that until I found your work. Finding you and finding people with so many similar stories, like I totally for the first time was like, okay, I'm not alone. There's a legitimate thing that's going on with me, and somebody has the answers, which was fantastic. And you provided like rules right off the bat, which I so needed. Like one of the first things I learned from you was, don't go to your family, to your friends, to your therapist to like confirm what you're feeling and reassure yourself and validate like, no, I'm okay. My relationship's going to be okay. That's something nobody else had told me. And it's like a golden rule, because when you are experiencing ROCD, it's a total lack of self-trust and self-confidence. And you think that's going to make it so much better, as somebody telling you, you're fine, you have nothing to worry about. But it's that seeking from others that keeps you in that position of not trusting yourself. So you right away were like, been there, done that. Here's what you need to know. Don't do this stuff. And I was like, okay, I won't. Like, I'll stop doing that stuff. Thank you. Even if you did go to a friend or a family member and they gave you that opinion of like, well, clearly this isn't the relationship with you, or something must be wrong with your relationship. I think you saying like, and hearing from other people that has happened to them, and when you're in the thick of it, you feel like that's like a done deal. That's the final word. But another one of your rules is like, to not listen to that basically, and to just trust yourself. So that was incredibly helpful. Yeah, you really do have to find that self-confidence, because you can't be making sure somebody else agrees with you or is validating your decision and who you are, which is like this massive thing to learn, you know, and I'm by no means done learning that, like, at all, but I think you really just give me the tools to start changing my habit there.
And I'm curious to know what your experience was doing, the embodiment work and the movement work, because I know that 99.9% of people who come to us have never done anything like this before, and they might be like, what the heck? I don't get it. So what was your experience with that?
Okay, so before the first session, I was so nervous. I had a nightmare the night before, because I was like, it's fine now. It's so like symptomatic of what I was going through.
Right.
But I just was so nervous, because I was like, oh my God, we're doing this movement work talking about ROCD in front of people who I don't know on Zoom. And that was just like totally freaked me out. But then I did my first session with Sarah, and it was literally like the most calm thing ever. And I totally had nothing to worry about. And I think what you two do is work really hard to make sure we're in a safe space while we're doing these like somewhat bizarre movement activities, like things you just never do in life usually. And it can totally feel so foreign and maybe self-conscious. But yeah, I think you guys make it a really safe space. So it ended up every time being so calming for me. And I think that was like one of the biggest shifts I felt with working with you guys, was you guys really prioritized coming back to feeling calm. And I would say my ROCD like does not value being calm, thinks being calm has nothing to do with fixing us, and it would much rather like pour over every detail and obsess and think of every little thing. And it kind of like hates being calm. So establishing that with you and Sarah, doing the body scans, doing different breath exercises, just like totally shifted me out of my head and into my body. And I think started reminding myself that it's like extremely valuable to feel a sense of peace, even if you don't have it all figured out yet.
Right. And especially when you don't have it all figured out yet, because we get caught in the cycle of, if I don't have it figured out, then I can't possibly be safe. I can't possibly be at peace. And we are really flipping that paradigm of like, how do you feel safe within your own body, even in the midst of all of the unknown and the uncertainties of life? Because so much of life is mystery and we don't know the future. So I love that you've been able to find that safety and peace and stability within yourself despite the unknown, which is like such a power.
It like defies logic, but it's truly the key. Yeah.
Exactly. I love it. And that's what we do. We defy logic because we can't logic our way out of the anxious thoughts. So just continuing on this, what were some of the other fears you had before doing this work or signing up for the Luscious Love Immersion?
I think that same fear I had about opening up to a friend about what I was going through, that maybe the program or someone would give me this definitive answer of like, that I didn't want to hear, of like, no, you should be worried about this. But then I think your program, like, it's really not about engaging with the content of what you're obsessing about, which is like radical and again like defies what your ROCD wants you to do. But that's what made it so relaxing and feel so safe for me. It was like totally a bait and switch from engaging with all of those fears. So there's never a second once I started the program that I felt worried anymore.
So since doing this work, how has your relationship to yourself changed?
I think one thing I do now for the first time ever is like tell myself I love myself, which feels so weird. And it's like not in the culture. We're not taught to do this. When I began, it just felt so foreign and weird, but I think that's the power of having you show me how to do that and set the example. It's normalizing it for me. It's a new relationship for me to be doing that and to be reassuring myself. Your program emphasized how important that really is. And again, just normalized that practice for me. And then the other thing I'll add is that the number one change is now having done this program, the first place I go if I feel distress coming on is into my body, which I was not doing before. Like before, I was running around like a chicken with its head cut off. And now I know I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on the sensations I'm feeling. Can I breathe differently? Can I shift this? Or like, even am I able to tolerate what I'm feeling? Yeah. And I think I wish everybody who goes through anxiety knew to focus on their body, which is what your program emphasizes, because that's like totally the secret.
And I'm curious to know, how has your relationship to your partner changed? What shifts have you noticed in how you show up in your relationship?
Well, he thinks it's clear I'm doing a lot better, which is great. But I think one thing that your program has really helped me with is it's given me the language to communicate with better when I'm going through something. And I think I've started in my language to focus less on my distressing thoughts and more on what I'm feeling in my body. And I think that makes it much more understandable for someone who's not going through it. Yeah. And I think just puts us more on the same page, which is really good. So I think that's the biggest change.
So I'm curious to know, how is working with us at Healing Embodied different from maybe other therapists or coaches that you've worked with before in the past?
I would say the number one difference that I so needed was your specificity of knowledge about ROCD that you bring to the program. I just think if you're going through ROCD, you need a treatment plan that's specifically for ROCD, because it's just its own like crazy, unique, bizarre thing. And I think that, some of the work I've done before, maybe just more generalized to anxiety or obsessive thinking, was helpful, but does not hit the nail on the head like your work does, where you actually know specifically what your clients are going through. And I really think that that was a huge part of healing and the journey towards healing for me, was getting to be in a space of people who knew specifically like the crazy thing that I was going through.
And I also want to know, what was your favorite part of the process?
I think for me, it just has to be the embodiment sessions. Actually getting on Zoom in a group and spending an hour practicing different techniques to get in your body, different techniques for dealing with stress. It was like such a lovely twice a week thing to just like bolster up my day to day and make sure I wasn't getting too far off the path of like being calm and centered in myself. And you and Sarah specifically are just like wonderful teachers and so passionate about movement. And it's just so unique and wonderful to work with movement therapists who just break the box of conventional therapy and help just like approach what's going on with you from a different route and like ultimately a more successful route to dealing with what's going on. So for me, I just loved doing those sessions, and I can't wait to keep doing them.
And finally, what would you say to someone considering working with us, but maybe is on the fence or a little bit scared?
No, like literally do it. That's what I would say. Don't even question it. Absolutely do it. Like if you have ROCD, you have to do this program for sure. If I had a friend who started going through some of what I was going through, like they're lucky because I have the exact right place to point them to. So I would not hesitate for a second. And I think, I did question before I started because I just found you on Instagram and I was like, oh my God, am I really gonna like sign up to like I just found this lady on Instagram. Am I really gonna, yeah, right, like invest in doing this program? But totally legitimate, like totally worth your investment.
Yes. So, are there any other final words of hope or inspiration that you want to leave with anyone who is going through relationship anxiety and OCD?
I mean, just to do your program, and I'm saying that like with my whole heart. I think what you guys do is, and you're very upfront about this. It's not a magic cure. You're never going to feel stress again. You're never going to have an obsessive moment again. But I think it's really about teaching the tools that will get you there one day. And again, like I said, I think, so much validation in just being in the community of people who were going through the same thing I was going through, knowing it was legitimate, and having these shared experiences, and the guide who has the answers for us. So just to do the program.
Thank you so, so much.
Of course.
I'm so proud of you. And like I said, it was
Thank you.
such an honor to witness
Aw.
your journey and your process. And I want everyone out there to know, like, it's possible for you too. Like, you're not the exception. You're not above healing. Like, we are wired to heal. We can change our patterns. And Sarah is just the beautiful testament to that capability of healing and growth.
Thanks, Chelsea.
You're welcome. So thank you so, so much again for taking the time to do this. I'm sure this is so, so helpful for people to hear. And I will see you next time.